Hello. Hope you guys doing fantastic today. HulkSmash full build guide. It's finally there. I've played this character for long enough, and did the armor stacking archetype for long enough, where I can say confidently that I'm ready to release a full build guide for the character. I know it might be a little bit too late, but might be a little bit late into the league because they were almost like what 4 weeks. But as in tradition, there is going to be a full build guide where I'm going to be talking about everything. So basically, like briefly, I'll be talking about leveling because I already made a video about leveling, and basically it's as simple as before for any warrior. I still recommend Bone Shatter during the campaign, so I'm going to briefly talk about that though. And then of course gems, items, passive tree, interactions, blah 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 blah. It's going to be, the classic 1 hour long video or something like that. So yeah, let's jump into it, right? Let's not. We have there is a lot to talk about, so let's just not delay the inevitable. I'm going to run like the hardest map that I had basically. That I rolled minus resistance with penetration with chaos and monster damage. So just to show you guys how tanky the character really is, because armor stacking archetype, many people said that many people had concerns that perhaps is not going to be strong enough. It turns out that these concerns were premature, and armor stacking turned out to be absolutely fantastic. As you can see, the speed of the character since last time, I do believe since the last showcase, increased quite a bit, because I told you that, generally speaking, the biggest concern I would say throughout the videos was that the build doesn't feel fast enough. And to me, honestly, at this point where I crafted my weapons and I invested into speed enough, I would say that speed of this character, I don't know if I'm delusional, but it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. I understand that people are used to stacking movement speed this league and stuff like that, blah 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 blah. But for the amount of tankiness that we have, the movement speed doesn't feel that bad at all. This perhaps will be interesting because I do believe we're gonna have a boss here with. Is that a boss? Is that gonna be a boss? Yes, it is. Okay, I'll be honest. I have no idea what's going on here at all. I'm just going to switch my Ataluis here real fast. And oops, that's I messed up my combo. I messed up my combo. You were supposed to, because I started already playing the other character, and I have to admit. Okay, there we go. As you can see, the boss really was like trying to do something, but didn't do any damage. I started playing my second character, which we're going to start making content from this guy very soon. And I have a completely different skill setup over there. My perfect strike is in a different spot. That's why it felt so clunky what I was doing there. But whatever, it's just skill issue, right? But anyway, as you saw, the boss was trying to do like something, and basically to no avail. I think I also forgot. Yep. So like the damage, as you saw, without the endurance charge, we didn't do like any damage at all, almost like 600,000. But with endurance charge, I'm doing like 700 or 800% more damage because of a crit, guaranteed crit. So basically, we're still doing absolutely like, I don't know, 7 million, 8 million damage per shield wall or something like that. And this damage that you saw over there, that wasn't even how much damage I should have, because I still have the Train Deflection Anointment from my testing when I was trying to tank the Arbiter, right? And I forgot to change it, so there is still 120% critical strike multiplier missing there. So, but enough to say, every boss in the game dies in 1 hit. Pinnacle bosses die in 2 hits. I could push the damage further if I really wanted to, but honestly, I've decided that it makes no sense at this point. I'm going to keep the build the way it is, like so, relatively well balanced, right? Because with this tankiness, the fact that we reach somewhat acceptable speed and still we're one-shotting everything in the game, or two-shotting, I would say that's a pretty good result, right? Of course, you could argue that everything in this game one-shots pinnacle bosses. It's not exactly true, but I have to say that I'm curious what GG is going to be cooking balance-wise, because currently the amount of damage in the game that we have is you can virtually like the partially the problem might be the extreme power of rare items and how easy it is to craft now. And I'm not advocating necessarily for, big nerfs to crafting or something like that. I'm talking about, perhaps we just need to tune down the numbers, because it's just like everyone and their mother just do millions upon millions of damage, and it seems like it's almost too easy, too trivial to get huge amounts of damage. Like, I didn't really invest into damage on this build that much. If I really wanted to, I would be doing 30 million damage from a shield wall. But it's just like, what's the point, right? Like, at this point, you might as well just start investing into speed and defense, because damage is always going to be totally fine. So that's HulkSmash for you. A little bit faster than before. The tankiness is off the charts. You're capable of tanking basically anything in the game, including big slams. Like, Armour is supposedly is weak against big hits. Guess what? With this amount of armor, even monkeys don't do damage to you anymore. Don't do damage is a stretch. You're still gonna probably get like hit for 2,000 from a monkey slam, on like a high roll or something. But yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. Virtually invincible versus elemental damage, because basically, I don't want to say every single one, but most hits in a game, most elemental hits in a game with this amount of mitigation versus Ellie are going to get mitigated by 90%, like most, right? Pretty much every single one is going to mitigated by 80%. So yeah, it's just insane tankiness. And let's jump into the nitty gritty. So let's talk about the details. Alright, so let's briefly talk about the leveling. So 3 things that I recommend. Because I'm not going to do the all out, what passive to get like 1 by 1 and stuff like that. Just gonna talk about this briefly. So 3 things I recommend doing during campaign on warriors and on this character. Number 1, the first video that I made from this character. So basically, I was first video of this league. HulkSmash something. It looks really promising. Armor stacking looks really promising. I recommend this video. I'm going to link it in the description. If anyone wants to see, because I was talking about leveling for 20 minutes there. So I recommend that. Leveling on warrior is easy. It's still very easy. It is what it is. Number 2, I would avoid the important thing. I would avoid stacking elemental armor applies to elemental damage early on. I would start investing that into that at level 50, 60, something like that. Before that, you're just not going to have enough armor and enough of this stat to really feel the difference. So during campaign, the thing that's going to save you from dying basically every single time is 1, armor, not armor applied to Ellie, and 2, resistances. Resistances for elemental damage, armor for physical damage. You're going to have these 2 things. You're going to have an extremely easy time during campaign. You will be easily able to recover enough life to just be fine, just with your flasks, maybe even consecrated ground on your leap slam or something like that. You're going to be fine. So you don't need to worry about damage if you have these 2 things. And guess what? Resistances are quite easy to get now. Especially with abyssal crafting, even during campaign. And armor is very easy to get because we're playing Titan. So, it's perfect, right? Number 3 thing, I guess there's going to be 4 things. Number 3 thing, I would widely recommend to start dual wielding since Act 1. Dual wielding, it's kind of like a pet peeve of mine, because I don't understand why then they nerfed Giant's Blood. In my opinion, they should have nerfed dual wielding, and they're going to experience that very painfully once they add other classes and swords and axes. Because everyone is going to be dual wielding, and dual wielding is just going to be overperforming. Dual wielding is the problem. Dual wielding is overpowered in this game, not necessarily Giant's Blood. Giant's Blood, sure, but still, dual wielding good one-handed weapons is still going to be resulting in too much damage. And at the same time, you're going to be faster too, right? Because one-handers are like much faster, so something to keep in mind. But I would recommend just dual wielding one-handed weapons since Act 1 on this character. Ignore the shield. Shield is great if you don't have damage mitigation. If you do have damage mitigation, you don't really care about block that much. So dual wielding for the damage, and it's going to feel smooth and it's going to feel great. And number, I guess, 4, the general tip is that get Leap Slam as quickly as possible and do the legendary combo that every almost warrior has been doing for the past 3 leagues. So, well, they added Brink support in 0.2, so I guess for the past 2 leagues, but you put in Brink support in Leap Slam, and with Leap Slam you're just generating stun build up, and with Bone Shatter you just explode. Leap Slam into Bone Shatter, the most basic, easy to understand concept, and at the same time probably the most effective one. I don't know if GG wants to do something about it to like give warriors different ways to level up, but I cannot see for the life of me right now anything that would just beat Leap Slam into Bone Shatter. And it's funny because some of the warriors' skills got nerfed this league, and like the best ones, so Leap Slam and Bone Shatter didn't. So I guess I understand GG because I'm assuming they wanted to keep some strong combinations for warriors. Then if they nerfed everything, then people would complain a lot. So I mean that makes sense. But at the same time, you can't stop people from complaining no matter what. So anyway, besides the point, these are basically the tips I would go for. I would recommend doing. And of course, the video that I'm going to give you guys the link in the description. But for the leveling part, the warrior is as easy as ever. So basically, Leap Slam, Bone Shatter, and that will make you cruise through the campaign, no problem. All right, onto the gem setups. So we're going to start right off the bat. All of these skills are going to be the same. Then when it comes to spirit skills at the end, this is actually going to get a little bit interesting because here you're actually going to choose which ones you want to take depending on your playstyle, but we're going to get to that. But let's start from the very beginning, Mace Strike. Now you might be asking me, Karn, why the hell are you even using Mace Strike? Is this like what, like patch 0.1 with like Cultist Greyhammer or something like this? And the answer is pretty simple. Mace Strike is actually pretty useful. I don't know, I got used to it, but it's actually pretty useful to finish off leftover rare monsters. Because your mace strike is actually going to hit pretty hard with your maces, right? So it's very easy to like drop monster from like 1/3 of their HP after like Bone Shatter to like dead basically in 2 swings. So I don't know, I got used to it, I guess, and if you want to, you could, for example, be using something else, it's totally fine. But I just kind of use Mace Strike, so it is what it is. And I'm going to mention these supports not necessarily in order of importance, because for the most part, all of them are going to be like similar, right? But I've been using Heft for damage boost, Ancestral Call every now and then to have like a clone, and also that's going to give you additional 30% more damage every 3 seconds, so that's okay to use. Then Brutality, because we're not using basically any elemental damage. Not basically, we're not using any elemental damage in the build. Then Heavy Swing, same thing, and Close Combat, because we're always going to be getting the maximum damage bonus. With all of these supports, Mace Strike actually can do some damage. It actually can. Especially if the enemies are fully broken, have fully broken armor from like Armor Breaker or even the Bone Shatter, right? So this is, call me crazy, but you could use something else here. But at the same time, I guess you're not gonna have any skill slots anymore. But yeah, to finish off rare monsters, like Mace Strike, there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. Now Bone Shatter, our main clearing ability. I guess Bone Shatter and Leap Slam, these are going to be both very important. Bone Shatter. So first of all, Atalui's Bloodletting. I'm going to talk about this right now. Atalui's Bloodletting is crazy strong. They added it this patch. It gives you, excuse me, I guess what I'm trying to say is like it basically was made for warriors. which is funny because blood mages abuse that the most. But for warriors, it's still insane. So the higher the cost of your skill, the higher the damage bonus this support receives. For example, if you have 1,000 life cost, which is not impossible to get on something, then you're going to be getting 200% extra physical damage. 200%. It's stupid. It's legitimately stupid, and it most likely is going to get nerfed. It's even better because the support itself has 150% cost multiplier, and it has inbuilt blood magic. So it's just like so many things in one support, right? It's just some of the new supports are partially the reason why we have so much damage in the game, but Atalui's Bloodletting definitely up there. And also, what you basically want to be doing, this honestly shouldn't even be there. I mean, it's whatever, it doesn't matter. But what you want to be doing is basically for everything that is not like a very tanky boss, you want to have Atalui's Bloodletting in Bone Shatter, and when the boss appears, 5 million HP, 10 million HP, 50 million HP, whatever, you just swap to your main skill, and that's literally all you do, right? That's the only swap that you're going to be doing on this character, and you have to because you can only have one of these special support gems, at the same time. So like, you can have like different special support gems, lineage support gems, but you can't have two Ataluis at the same time. For example, you can have two Bloodlettings. So this is what you're supposed to do. And Impact Shockwave, the support is amazing. It gives you like an additional aftershock, basically, when you heavy stun, which is all the freaking time with Bone Shatter, because this is our stun enabler, and this is our skill that we stun with, and we get these shockwaves, right? So aftershock, when you heavy stun, this 1.5 meter radius does scale with area on the tree. So it's basically as big as the base area of the Bone Shatter. It's just fantastic. It increases your damage and clear speed drastically, this support, so it's great. And you should be using that. This is the first support that you should be putting in Bone Shatter, basically. I do believe. This one and the area of effect. Next up, Ancestral Core. This is Ancestral Core. This is amazing because every 3 seconds, which is going to be quite freaking often. It's like usually you're just going to jump, explode the pack with Bone Shatter, jump, and explode the pack with Bone Shatter. So usually, like every second Bone Shatter, this is going to be available. If your attack speed is going to be a little bit slower, this is going to be every second Bone Shatter, right? And what it does is basically every second Bone Shatter, every 3 seconds, your skill is going to be doing 30% more damage, 25% increased area of effect, so very nice. And it's going to be ancestrally boosted strike, which will target 2 additional enemies. That is fantastic. That will increase your area and the coverage like very, very nicely. So this is a huge support, and I definitely recommend using it. By the way, these are basically in how important they are in the order of importance. So like if you get like Lesser Jeweler Orb, then you should be getting these 3 possibly. I mean, Lesser Jeweler Orb when you have Atalui's Bloodletting, right? But I mean, this one is the most important one, right? It's not even that expensive because it dropped a lot. It's like 2 divines now, so totally affordable. But yeah, basically just go in that order, right? Then after that we have Armor Break. Also very important support. Really, like from all these, if you don't have Atalui's Bloodletting, then if you can afford, then basically you just put Heavy Swing in there. But other than that, all three of these are extremely important. This one is the least important. It's still useful, but the least important one. But these are very important. So Armor Break. 20% of physical damage dealt by supported skill is going to break armor equal to 20% of physical damage dealt by supported skill, and you're going to get a lot of endurance charge generation. Endurance charge generation is useful for 2 reasons. Number 1, if you want to be using in the future charge regulation, this will consume endurance charges every 12 seconds. So this this will basically completely solve your endurance charge sustain. You're gonna have this buff up permanently always while mapping, so that's very nice. And second part, every time you will want to use shield wall while mapping, because you have like a giga tanky rare like Soul Eater, for example, right? Then you are going to have it a crit, right? It's going to crit because you're going to have your endurance charges, so you don't need to worry about endurance charge generation from perfect strike. So you just crit and boom, that's it. So you don't have to worry. And on top of that, break armor equal to 20% of physical damage dealt by supported skill. This is extremely important for two reasons. Again, number one, this will break armor on the enemies, so they take more damage. Number two, you get your scavenge plating stacks all the time. So this support not only gives you increased damage while mapping, better clear, but also completely solves the problems with uptime of this buff and uptime of this buff. It covers both of these buffs at the same time. This one freaking support. So it's just mandatory. What can I say? It's just mandatory, in my opinion. And then last, magnified area 1. There are honestly, this is the least important one. At the same time, it's kind of nice, not because it gives you a 35% increased area of effect, which is okay. It's not more now. It's increased, so it's like a little bit of difference that you're gonna see. But the reason why I'm using that is because it gives this area, so it's not useless, and cost multiplier. So as you can see, even though I'm using Atalui's Bloodletting, obviously, even though this gem gives no damage whatsoever, just because of this cost multiplier, I'm getting about 10% more damage, apart from getting the area of effect. So, and this, at the same time, this also gives you the regeneration. We're going to get to that later, but this actually gives you life regen. But we're going to get to that when we'll be talking about the passive tree. Now, shield wall. Let's assume that you're fighting the boss, right? We're swapping this shield wall. Atalui's Bloodletting works exactly the same as it does in Bone Shatter. Literally the same story. Garukan's Resolve. This might be a controversial one. This gives you bifurcates on your critical hit chance. What it does basically is that it rolls your critical hit chance twice. If both of the rolls are crits, then you do double damage from your critical. It's like the critical damage bonus gets doubled. So for us, it's basically double damage every single time because we have a guaranteed crit. We cannot fail that roll. The problem is that after you use this and you explode the wall, you have to move for 20 meters before you can use that again. I haven't seen anyone on any video or on my Twitch on the stream complain about that support, and it's like, you know, it wasn't annoying to anyone. I haven't seen a single message, like a single comment. But if you don't want to be using that, if it annoys you that you have to move, because like look at this, right? You put like 10 million damage, boom, and you just have to jump and jump again, and then it's available again. So you have to jump twice. At the same time, you're going to refresh your consecrated round, so you're going to get a lot of regen. So at least, you know, it doesn't feel like a complete waste of time. And in most cases, you're going to kill your target in one hit anyway. But if you want to be using something else, then you can. But I don't know. It's double damage on a support. It's just cracked. It's literally double damage, right? And the best part about it is that it's really cheap. So if you want to be using something else, there are supports. For example, you could be using, there is this one support that, hold on, let me see real fast. Critical. There is this support. This one is nice because it gives you cost multiplier at the same time and 30% more critical damage bonus. But it's still not going to be giving you as much damage as this one. It doesn't have cost multiplier, this one, but it's literally double damage. This one is going to give you like, this one is going to give you like, I don't know, 40% more damage, something like that. About 40% more damage, which is still insane. And again, you don't have to jump away anymore. You don't have to move 20 meters, but it's 40% more damage. This one is 100% more damage. So you see the difference, right? Alright, next up, we have Close Combat 2. Fairly, like, you know, simple, right? Just the closer you are to the enemy, the more the damage. So very simple here. Brutality, once again, we're not doing elemental damage, so 30% more damage straight up. And as you're going to notice, both of these skills have cost multipliers. You always, when you use Ataluis, you always try to look at the support gems that have cost multipliers first, then the other stuff. And then exploit weakness. I need to explain one thing. Sometimes the support by itself is insane, right? It has 130 cost multiplier, and enemy fully broken armor deals 40% more damage, and it will consume fully broken armor. That is insane. The thing is that sometimes if you're going to do your rotation, so armor break to fully break the armor on the boss, perfect strike to get the endurance charge, and then boom, shield wall, right? Sometimes you're going to put the shield wall, if you're really close to the boss, on the boss, and the boss will eat some of these fragments, and this will consume the fully broken armor, which will prevent you from getting the damage bonus. There is a extremely simple way of fixing that. Basically, you're doing your rotation, boom, 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 armor break, endurance charge. Then, if some of these will get consumed, you just fully break their armor again, and boom, and then you explode the wall. It takes just a little bit of practice to get used to this, and this way you get the maximum bonus, damage bonus every single time. So something to keep in mind, right? There isn't a single support that has damage bonus even remotely close to this one. This is just like an insane damage bonus. The support gives you like 160% more damage, basically. So, excuse me, 60% more damage, right, in a single support. So, absolutely huge. But keep in mind that if you will consume the fully broken armor, then before you explode the wall, you need to reapply. And it's very simple to do, don't get me wrong, because Armor Breaker breaks so much armor than 1 or 2 hits max, and the armor is going to be broken again. So, it's not like it takes a long time, it's just something that you need to keep in mind, right? Alright. Next up, Leap Slam, a very, very important skill. Now, I'm going to put these supports, if you don't mind, in appropriate order in terms of how important they are. And there we go, Leap Slam. So, Brink 2, insanely important and insanely good. This is the first support that you're supposed to be putting in your like stun builder. If you're playing with Bone Shatter. Brink prevents enemies from being fully stunned, and on top of that, gives you more stun buildup. Insane support. I think that honestly, I feel like GG really likes this Bone Shatter gameplay for warriors because they haven't nerfed in 0.3. In 0.2, they added Brink to enable this playstyle where you just Bone Shatter everything. If in the future Warrior is going to get nerfed, spoiler, it will. He will. I don't think that Bone Shatter is going to be the skill that's going to get nerfed, to be honest, because for some reason it feels like GG really likes this playstyle, so I don't know. But Brink support, mandatory. Then stun, mandatory. Less damage, but more stun build-up. There's some, for example, comments in the past. Some comments. I think that someone on my Discord mentioned that they don't have enough damage. Basically, they're not stunning people. In my opinion, stun 3 is amazing because stun 2 doesn't have the less damage, but stun 2 only gives like 100% more stun buildup. So stun 3 is still more stun buildup. But if you don't have enough damage to stun people, then you just exchange rapid attacks 3 to rapid attacks 2. You're gonna have 25% increased attack speed, but the less damage penalty is going to be gone. So if you don't have like enough stun build up, if you're doing too little damage, because like you have really bad weapons, then just exchange rapid attacks 3 to rapid attacks 2, and then your damage is going to be absolutely fine. Because you have so much stun build up, and the Leap Slam has more stun build up inbuilt into the skill. So it's just like so much stun that you're just going to be stunning everything, right? Then Magnified Area 1. I think that Magnified Area 2 is kind of a joke. You could use that, but at this point you're exchanging 10% increased area of effect for 10% less damage. It's a shame. It's a shame that it's increased now. It's not more, but it's a shame, man. And last but not least, Holy Descent. Consecrated Ground feels fantastic while mapping because many people overlook the fact that it gives you 50% reduction against curses too. So this will reduce the curse effect of temporal chains. So you're not going to feel as slow. This will reduce the curse effect of elemental weakness. So if you barely have above resistance cap, which I'm way over capped by the way, but if you have just a little bit, you should feel much safer with this curse reduction here because elemental weakness is not going to hurt you as much. Uh, the consecrated ground gives you 5% regeneration per second, which is a lot. This scales with the effects of regeneration. So if you really invest into regeneration, which you totally could do if you wanted to. For example, got life regen from here. If you got life regen from here, if you maybe even got life regen from here, if you're gonna have life regen from a corruption or something like this, then you're going to find out that this 5% regeneration per second turned into 15% because of all of these multipliers. So it's just like a very handy support to have, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But for example, if you wanted to, let me think if there's anything else. Like, this is really all you want to do, right? I mean, you could invest into even more attack speed here if you wanted to. So for example, you could get yourself like Rigwell's Ferocity here. Because more attack speed if used in weapon set number 1, and less damage if you used in weapon set number 1 at the same time. So like if you're not struggling with damage, you could still use that. But honestly, I wouldn't exchange Holy Descent for anything. Like the Holy Descent is such a strong skill, such a strong support. If you use your mobility skill like Leap Slam to move around all the time, then Holy Descent is wow, holy. Now Armor Breaker, Uruk Smelting. Self-explanatory. More armor. This is basically armor demolisher, not armor demolisher. The skill that gives you 70% more armor break, and on top of that, the Uruk Smelting gives you like a debuff, right? If the fight for some reason is really long, with like on a really low budgets, then you're going to get additional. The boss is going to receive additional physical damage taken. That's not bad at all, right? Rage 3, Rage Generation, and more attack speed while you're not at maximum Rage. Rage is great. Rage is quite easy to generate this league, but with this support, with your Armor Breaker, I think I'm generating like 8 Rage per hit, which is huge. So very easy to get maximum Rage very quickly. Then Rapid Attacks 3, 2 is not needed, 3 is fine because you're doing negative damage with Armor Breaker anyway, so it doesn't matter if you have a less damage penalty. After that, Physical Mastery, I literally put it here for memes. It gives you a little bit more armor break. Every skill level gives you additional hits will break additional armor. So I mean, you can use that if you want. And then Maim. It's not a bad thing to have. If you have a boss that runs away a lot, this will decrease their movement speed and evasion. Always something, right? If for example one of your modifiers on the map is monsters are evasive, this will basically eliminate a situation where the boss or a monster would avoid a hit because of reduced evasion rating. So I mean, that's nice to have, right? If you wanted to exchange something here, I would probably exchange Physical Mastery for something else, but God knows who. God knows which support exactly. I have no idea. If I really wanted to think about it, there's probably something that you could put in there, but it doesn't really matter. It does its job, right? With these supports, it does absolutely fine. So, alright, then Perfect Strike, Perfect at Endurance. This skill is here to give us endurance charges, to generate endurance charges against bosses where we have no monsters and we can generate endurance charges with Bone Shatter. This is where Perfect Strike comes in, and Perfect Endurance, every time you fully charge, perfectly charge Perfect Strike, you get endurance charge when you hit something, and it's great. It's extremely easy. An extremely easy way to generate endurance charges. It's really fast with one-handed weapons. Look how fast it is compared to all my previous projects, like in 0.1, for example, when we were wielding two-handed maces and we had negative attack speed. This one is really fast in comparison. And every now and then you're going to fail the perfect strike, but for the most part it's pretty easy to get used to it, and it's extremely easy to generate endurance charges this way. I cannot think of a single way that would be better than this. And perfection is also great because as you can see, there is this buff when you perfectly charge and a perfect strike, and you can do that even before the boss fight if you want. And for every buff, you are going to receive additional damage bonus on all of your skills. So let's just say that you're fighting Zest, right? And Zest is doing this long animation. You can just like spam your perfect strike if you want. And this lasts for a long time. And as long as you get perfect timing on perfect strike, there's so many things are perfect about this. Rolls right off your tongue. Then you're going to get this damage boost, and every single stack here is going to be 5% more damage. So at 4 stacks, you get 20% more damage on every skill, shield wall as well. So this is a really great support to use, right? Next up, at this point, everything I used here is basically like to make perfect strike faster. So Wriggle's ferocity, the damage on perfect strike is completely irrelevant, so more attack speed if used in weapon set number 1. We're going to talk about weapon sets after I'm done with supports, right? Then rapid attacks 3, again same thing, damage doesn't matter. And then rage for even easier, rage generation and more attack speed if you're not at full. Perhaps there is something else that you could use instead of rage. For example, I think there is a support that allows you to generate another endurance charge, but I haven't really found a reason why I would want to generate more than one, because I can just generate it and just put this thing and explode, and then I'm going to need another one that I can just use perfect strike again and refresh my damage buffs. So it's up to you really, but yeah, that's it when it comes to perfect strike. A perfect skill indeed. Now we have Fortifying Cry. This might be the most controversial skill, because this Fortifying Cry, basically what it does is it will explode the shield walls around you, and it has its separate damage multiplier that scales with skill levels, and it scales with the armor on your shield too. So on paper, it looks really good, right? No. I mean, not necessarily. Look, the thing is that this is like a separate damage multiplier, right? This skill. So, for example, if you wanted to put everything here, if you wanted to make it a 6-link, and you wanted to generate more than one endurance charge from perfect strike, and then you would get like crit on shield wall and crit on Fortifying Cry, and all of these supports were damage supports, then I guess you could argue that this would do some damage. But the main problem of this skill is you're not going to have Ataluis here. And even if you're going to do all of that, even if you're going to put put effort to generate more endurance charges to guarantee the skill to be a crit, you're still going to lose these bonuses to skill levels, because you're going to be doing that on this weapon set, and the damage is just not going to be that impressive. It's truly is not going to be that impressive compared to shield wall. So basically what I ended up doing is basically I started using this skill literally just to detonate shield wall with it, because it feels nice. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could like literally make it a 6-link and put full damage support in there. You could do that if you wanted to, and probably you would get like additional 10%, maybe like 15% more damage by doing that. But keep in mind that you have to generate 2 endurance charges every rotation, not 1. So, and the thing is that if this is on cooldown, or I don't know, you can't use it for some reason, then you can just detonate shield wall with auto attacks. It's super easy. It's like you don't even need that to detonate shield wall. If I have to be completely honest, it just feels good though. Feels good because sometimes you're gonna put shield wall a little bit too far and your auto attacks wouldn't reach. This will always detonate. Like it has good area, right? You will always detonate your shield wall with this. So it's not a bad idea to use this. Especially that you do have slots here. But I don't know. Like you'd have to give me an idea what else to use. Once again, you could on paper put like make it like a 6 link, so with 5 supports, and put all the supports into damage. But is it going to be that great of an idea? Is it going to be that amazing? If you are you even going to feel the damage boost? I don't know. I guess I should have experimented with this a little bit more, but I mean, if you want to figure this out for yourself, if you want to like try, then feel free to do so. But you know, now we got into persistent buffs, and here's the thing, my friends. If you want to, basically what I'm trying to say is that you need to choose here 2 out of 3, or maybe even something else if you want. But in my opinion, the mandatory buff here is Scavenge Plating. Scavenge Plating is going to give you 40% more armor pretty much permanently while mapping against bosses, because bosses, when you break armor on bosses, this will give you 10 stacks. So on bosses you have the bonus permanently, while mapping you have the bonus permanently, and that's 40% more armor. You just cannot debate, right? You cannot debate here on an armor stacker not using Scavenge Plating. It's like, I don't know. It's like trying to cut bread with scissors instead of knife. I guess on paper you could do that, but is it smart? You gotta answer yourself. And we want to support that with prolonged duration, for sure. That's not up to debate. And here, when it comes to temporary buffs, temporary buffs. These support buffs, you can choose. You can either do this combo, so precision with cannibalism. This will basically completely cover your sustain while mapping. You're going to be basically always full HP. And then 30% accuracy to basically mitigate for monsters being evasive and stuff like that. This will completely solve your accuracy problems. 30% is enough, because we also have some accuracy from dexterity, right? So this is just enough. The other thing you can do is basically 2% permanent regen. I gotta be honest, I think that these two combined are going to be better for the same spirit cost. I think that 40 spirit cost for 2% regen is probably a little bit too much. I mean, this is like almost half of what the people get. Most of the warriors will have 100 spirit, that's it. So this is almost half to give yourself 2% regen. That's a lot, right? So I think that this combo is going to feel better, but it's up to you. That's one thing that you need to choose. The second thing is you need to choose between Berserk, Charge Regulation, or whatever else you want to be doing. Charge Regulation is a buff that will consume endurance charges every 12 seconds, which is not a big deal because while mapping we have them all the time, all the freaking time, thanks to Armor Break 3. And it will give you massive 90% more defenses while you have an endurance charge. 90% more basically means that it's 90% more armor. So here you have 40% more armor, here you have 90% more armor. Absolutely massive. Disclaimer, this is an overkill. With my amount of armor, if you really want to push armor on an armor stacker, so basically like Titan, you get to the point where you get almost 200,000 armor. I have like 180 something with buffs up, and I don't know, 600,000 versus elemental. Even chaos is going to be like 50,000 at this point. This is an absolute overkill. At this point, every boss, every monster that is not like a monkey or something like that is going to be just doing no damage to you. So you don't have to be using that at all, and you can switch back to Berserk for more damage. But the reason why I stopped using Berserk is because I didn't really feel like I needed that damage, both against bosses and while mapping. Everything just dies, right? Once I crafted my new weapons, and it wasn't really that expensive too, everything just started dying, and everything just dies really fast. So I didn't really feel like I need that rage effect, right? It's not that much extra damage. It is good amount for 30 spirit, but here's the thing, that also makes you degenerate 3% life per second. And whereas 99% of the time it's completely relevant, it doesn't matter. It might be kind of annoying in maps when you have less recovery, because if when they're gonna get scaled by all the Atlas modifiers and stuff like that, sometimes you're gonna have a map where it says you have 70% less life recovery. So that's a loss, right? This will basically completely cut your regen, and that 3% degen from rage here, at times, very rarely, this might be annoying, because sometimes you're going to drop to half HP or something like that, because just because of how much your skills cost, and 70% less recovery from a mod, and this degen is going to make you not at full HP, which is, I definitely do not recommend using that in hardcore. For general gameplay, you can. I used that for a long time, until like level 97, I think. And it works just fine to use this on lower budgets. But charge regulation is also very nice. Simply because it feels so good, simply because this one freaking support, solves all of your problems. This one support gives you permanent stacks of scavenge plating and permanent stacks of charge regulation. So this one support that gives you permanent uptime on both of these buffs. So you can just use that, and that's all there is to it, right? And I put Uthred's Exodus for +3 to skill. It's very cheap, but you don't have to use that, but it's +3, and to give this gem basically one more armor, one more defenses. So if I got to level 18, I think that would be 20%. I'm not sure, but of course you want to get the lowest level possible, because the requirements will go up, and we obviously don't want to invest into dexterity and intelligence, especially intelligence. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to support gems. Which, wow, took a second for sure. Okay, it's great that I reminded myself right after cutting the video, because I wanted to talk about weapon swaps real fast, but I'm literally just going to mention that I have shield wall on weapon set number 2, and everything else on weapon set number 1. That's literally it. You don't have to worry about anything else, because Bone Shatter, obviously, for the clearing abilities, Bone Shatter and Leap Slam, so you want that on weapon set number 1 when you have 2 weapons. Armor Breaker is also better, because you get bonuses from plus skills. So Armor Breaker gets way more armor broken on weapon set number 1. And Perfect Strike is also better, because we have Rigwald's Ferocity, so you just use that faster, right? You generate faster, so that's what I've been using, and it works just fine, right? So weapon set number 1, everything except for Shield Wall, and weapon set number 2, Shield Wall. You guessed it. Now let's jump into the passive tree. So, oh boy. So first of all, from the very beginning, as you might notice, I invested a lot into armor on this character. So we have cluster number 1, cluster number 2, and that's a huge one. Then we have cluster number 3, also a pretty big one. Cluster number 4, cluster number 5. Then there is armor applies to LE, cluster number 6. That's a lot of investment into armor. Although you could argue that it's not that much, because it's like, what, 25, 30 points out of 120, 1 right now. This is like not that much. But I pretty much took every single cluster for armor that I could, and it's an overkill. It's an overkill, guys. I would definitely recommend, if you want to invest less, if you're playing softcore, if you're not playing hardcore, if you want to invest less, you absolutely can. And in my opinion, the best way of doing that is to basically just dropping this cluster over here. That is an overkill amount of armor. With good gear, that is just too much. For mapping, even for vast majority of bosses, getting this amount of armor will not matter anymore. Getting more and more and more, like, in my opinion, with buffs up, for general mapping, 100,000 and 300,000 applied to elemental is way more than enough to be doing anything, including delirium and multiple difficult map mods. You're just not going to need more than that. You could even start investing into life, for example, at certain. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I would probably just like drop points from the tree instead of start investing life into items here, because you still want to get as much armor on your gear as possible, right? but that is just too much. And the setup here is very simple. Obviously, weapon sets. Weapon set number one, I try to squeeze as much area as possible. Weapon set number two is basically as much raw damage as possible to reach like very high numbers on the shield wall. Of course, we have a guaranteed crit, so I got crit whatever I could. So barbaric strength, fear, and this cluster over here for more. When it comes to jewels, on the other hand, jewels are there is main jewel that is very important, and it's this one, Undying Hate. This changes if the name over here is glorifying the defilement of blah 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 blah, blah souls to tribute to Tekrod. There's 5 names here. There's like Tekrod, Amamamu. There's 3 different. You need to find yourself a jewel that says tribute to Tekrod, because the number doesn't matter. What number does is basically changes the notables to like different ones. So for example, if I had number 4000, then this wouldn't be Creature of Death. This would be something else. We don't really care about that. In my opinion, this mechanic that turns passives into different ones, in my opinion, it's kind of underwhelming. What is important here is you need to change the keystone to the appropriate one. And this is what Tekrod does. Tekrod will always change this keystone to Sacrifice of Blood. And this is one of the reasons why, the main reason why juicing our life cost is so good. Not only because it gives you more damage, but at the same time, it gives you crazy life regeneration, right? It's like regenerate 1 life per second per 8 life spent in the past 8 seconds. So for example, if you keep on spamming Leaf Slam and it costs, you can tell how much life it costs, right? You could even juice it even further if you wanted to. The same with Bone Shatter. If you're going to spam it like, if you're going to spend 8,000 life in 8 seconds, that's going to be 1,000 regeneration, like constantly. You use a skill, you get a bonus to regen constantly, like over and over and over again. It's crazy. It's honestly crazy how strong this is, but it is what it is, right? So this is absolutely mandatory. Another jewel that I have here is Heart of the Well. Increased armor for equipped body armor, in my opinion, is good, but it's not going to give you that much, so don't spend fortune on this. I think like the best part about this jewel is that it has really powerful prefixes. So one of the prefixes is +1 all maximum elemental resistances. That is really strong. Because on a build that has such insane amount of hit mitigation, maximizing your resistances is definitely a very nice idea, because this is also going to reduce the damage over time taken. So I have a jewel like this, and it's really good. You can get something similar without the increased armor from equipped body armor, instead something else, and it's probably going to be pretty cheap. And I'm going to show you, just so as you can see, the 60% increased armor from equipped body armor is 97,000, 94,600. This is like 2,300 armor. Is it like a small amount? It's not a small amount. It's something for sure. It's more than like a single passive here. So that's basically more than additional passive on the tree. So nothing to sneeze at, right? But is it game changing? It's not. It's absolutely not. You can get yourself resistances with like a different prefix, and it's going to be fine too. So something to keep in mind, right? Then for the time lost rubies, this is I honestly I don't know how much they're worth right now, but they're not going to be like that expensive for sure if you're going to be looking closely. The most important thing here, though, in my opinion, is upgrades radius to large and increased armor on small passives. The rage on melee hit is additionally a nice bonus, but with this point over here that I have, inherent rage loss starts 1.5 seconds later. This is not really a big deal because rage is going to start degenerating after 3.5 seconds with this small node. So you're going to have your rage up pretty much permanently, even if you don't have that additional rage generation. But it's not a bad thing to have for sure. And increased armor, of course. All of these small nodes will start all of a sudden giving you additional armor, which is huge. The same thing over here. I literally have the same thing. Additional, ideally, this would be perfect if it had increased effect of small passive skills on both of them. But honestly, I got them a long time ago. Literally, I think 2 weeks ago. And since then, I haven't even been looking for better ones. So long story short, they will do their job as long as they have upgrades readies to large and increased armor, right? Because this will give you 4% armor, increased armor on every single small passive, which is going to be a lot of armor. Like in comparison, for example, how much armor like this jewel is going to give me right now, 97,000. Boom, 94,000. So 3,000 armor, right? More than this one. Of course, this one gives me maximum resistances too, but this also gives me rage on melee hit, stun buildups, nothing to sneeze at. This one as well, small effective passive skills. This additionally stacks with hulking form, so now instead of 50% effect of small passive skills, I have 67% increased effect. So that means that these nodes turn into this 3% turns into 5%. So here I have some ridiculous small nodes that give me at this point. This one is giving me 38% increased armor basically, if you haven't been hit recently, which is pretty much all the time, right? So like this one, 30% increased armor on a small node. It's crazy, right? This is basically as much as a notable at this point. So I would use these for sure if you wanted to boost your armor further. If you don't, then you could just literally use like small jewels, right? It's absolutely fine to just use small jewels with, I don't know, attack damage. Like don't use mace damage, because mace damage is not going to work on your shield wall. Keep that in mind. But like attack damage, like physical damage is fine. Like area stuff like that, right? It can be corrupted with strength, so that will be an additional bonus, and basically stuff like that. Other than that, I guess what you need to keep in mind is that you want to get some damage on your weapon set number 1, because obviously majority of my damage is on weapon set number 2. On weapon set number 1, I don't have that much. I have these starting nodes over here, this thing over here, and this thing over here. This is very, very strong. They removed the reduction to attack speed on these small nodes, so that's huge. But other than that's pretty much it. So you do want to have these nodes on your weapon set number 1 in order to have some damage. I even put some additional ones. For example, this node here, I spent extra 1 point to get that 25% increased attack damage. If your damage is not good enough, you can further reduce the area. For example, dropping these 3 points if you really want to, and further increasing your damage. Like for example, investing them into here. That's going to be additional 9, and that's going to be additional 34% damage here. So definitely decent amount if you really need to get some additional damage. That's pretty much it. Obviously, I think that I need to rant for a little bit. It kind of sucks how they changed Resolute Technique, right? Because I would probably, even with accuracy changes, I would still probably invest into that, because it just feels nice to not being able to miss. But well, I guess not on this build, because we can't allocate this on this build because we wouldn't be doing critical hits. But still, I feel like Resolute Technique was fine before, but whatever. And I'm hoping that one day they're just gonna change this passive, right? Because this passive sucks so bad. I don't know. Every time I'm thinking about like strength stacking, like doing a strength stack character, you just can't. You literally just can't do it, because like, what's the point? There's nothing that really scales with strength in this game. You get more life, boo hoo, great. But other than that, like like nodes like these, like seriously, like in comparison, like I always reference to this one, but this one is giving you 1% increased lightning damage per 5 intelligence, 1% per 5. This one is giving you 1% per 15, and reduced maximum mana. Like, who thought that this is going to be like okay? To make it 3 times worse than this one, 3 times worse than this one, and it gives you reduced mana too. Like, I don't know. Don't invest into this. Is a bait. As long as you just get enough strength that you just to wear gear, which we have way more than that. But don't invest into like strength clusters anymore, guys, because it's just not worth it, generally speaking. Like, Titan turns these small nodes from 12 to 18 strength, so that seems like a lot. And truly, if I wanted to drop some armor, maybe I would invest into them to get some additional life. That wouldn't be a bad thing. But this notable just pisses me off every time I look at it, so don't invest into this, guys. Okay, let's jump into items now. Alright, so we have items. Let's start, I guess, maybe with the second setup for the single target damage. Let's start with the only unique item that this build has, which is Nebulok. Um, 150% increased attack damage against rare or unique enemies, 3 runes. How do you get to 3 runes? You get Exceptional Nebulok with 2 open sockets, and then you corrupt in hopes that you're gonna get a third one. It's not a big deal, it's pretty easy to get, unless, you know, Exceptional Nebulok don't exist anymore for some reason. But I know this item has been getting a little bit more popular nowadays. I'm not the only person that uses it right now. But what it does is attacks consume an endurance charge to critically hit. This is mandatory, right? Because this is the entire single target setup is oriented around this, because we get such a massive critical damage multiplier, that this gives you tons of damage. But the best part about this is that you can use this weapon, which gives you basically 0 physical damage, and you can use it with a shield skill that gets damage based on the armor that you have on your shield, like shield wall or shield charge, and you don't really care about the damage here. So you still get the guaranteed crit, you still get the benefit of that line, and you get the damage from the shield itself, which is crazy, right? So Nebulok, shield, the most important thing by far is having as much armor as possible. I did make a guide for how to craft a shield. Made 2 crafting guides, how to craft a shield and how to craft the gloves. But for the rest of this gear is very similar and very simple as well. So for the next character, I'm going to release more crafting guides, guys. But shield, I made a video. Very easy to get at least above 1400 armor. It's very easy to get, and pretty cheap. Is going to be pretty cheap as well. And the most important thing by far here, though, is that you want to maximize the amount of armor. So you don't really care about anything else. Just get as much armor as possible, right? Now, for the weapons, I crafted both of my weapons. I do believe, yes. And as you can see, with this one I got lucky, but this one I crafted from the very scratch, and basically what I did is I fractured physical damage. Then I got really unlucky and I rerolled the Abyss crafting multiples. This is not going to be like a crafting video, but what I'm trying to say is that this is basically as good of a mace as you can imagine for this build. You were never going to need a better one than this, and it's not even like that insane, right? But what you're looking for is gain of damage as extra physical damage is a nice stat that you can get from Essence. Then you want to get some physical damage. As you can see, physical damage on both of these weapons is not like nothing crazy, right? And then +4 to skills from Essence, and both of these weapons you want to have attack speed in order to leap around faster, to mitigate for the fact that we invest 0 into movement speed on this character, right? So like our leap at least is pretty fast. So if our leap is fast, then the movement speed doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter that much. And yeah, this is basically what you want to have on this slot and on this slot. And on one of these also, chance to gain onslaught on killing hits with this weapon is very nice. But I would say that I wouldn't overrate it. It's not like that insane, but it's not bad though, because it's like 20% increased attack speed, right? If you have it. So while mapping, this is going to be up almost permanently. So, and then skill speed runes inside for even more speed. Once again, if you feel like for some reason you have enough speed, because like after a certain point, like you just slow down with your leap slam. What I mean by slow down, the further increases into attack speed don't give you as much, because there is this fixed, my favorite mechanic in the game, my fixed total attack time that just cannot be reduced, and additional total attack time based on the distance traveled. So eventually you're going to reach the point where after you invested into enough attack speed, it doesn't really... additional 10% are not really going to feel like you are leaping around faster anymore, if you know what I mean. So yeah, basically something like this for weapons. For armor, is extremely important in my opinion to get physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage. Once again, very simple to craft. not too expensive either. This is going to be a great combo with a combination with this. Armor also applies to chaos damage because the physical damage that you're going to be receiving is going to be getting converted to chaos damage, like small amounts of that, and this will get completely nullified by this modifier at the same time. So this is basically like this combination is like a straight up huge damage reduction against physical hits, and it just feels great, right? So you want to get an armor like this, as much armor as possible. Armor applies to Ellie, the remaining 2 suffixes, whatever you want, whatever you need. And then this chest is not even perfect because this life regeneration is kind of wasted here, but it's a good chest, let's be honest. But the physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage is going to be something that you will be looking for big time. Now for the helmet, the most important thing is once again armor, and then you want to get armor applies to chaos damage. How you get that? You basically need to desecrate. From my experience, you get that pretty often. So if you get unlucky, then you might need to remove that modifier a couple times, and with Omen of Light, and then try again. Of course, with Omen of Abyssal Echoes as well, because it gives you double chance. But it shouldn't be that hard to get, and this is really mandatory. Again, the combination of these two, super powerful. Then gloves. This is another item that I actually made a crafting guide for, so you can check it out. But something like this is going to be, look, the +2 of all melee skill. The gloves, crafting these gloves without +2 level of all melee skills is going to be not that expensive, and it's going to be easy process. It's going to cost you from 10 to 15 divines, something like that, crafting gloves like these. Now, getting +2 level of all melee skills can be either very pleasant or extremely painful. Extremely painful process, potentially. So unless you are ready to spend 100 divines or more, if you're gonna freaking be feeling unlucky that day, don't even start doing that. But another thing you can do totally is going to be totally fine is you can just, for example, settle for something. You're gonna get like T1% attack speed, because with Ancient Ribcage you're always going to be getting T1 attack speed because it's a low tier modifier. It's gonna be totally fine. It's not like you need, it's not going to like break your build if you're not gonna have that +2. You're gonna have a little bit less damage, but still enough. Once again, you can compensate that damage loss with, for example, like by dropping some armor or like anything virtually and investing into some damage here, right? I mean, the funniest part is these nodes would actually still provide you armor at the same time. So I mean, but this is something you can do. If you, for example, you can, for example, get like strength or dexterity, which is going to be fine, or high resistance, right? Definitely do not start crafting this abyssal modifier trying to, and like don't look for plus level of all melee skills unless you have a lot of currency on your hand, so keep that in mind. But the gloves themselves, I would say that they're perfect as they are. It's one tier 2 prefix, but it's not a big deal, and yeah, without that +2, very easy to craft, very simple. Now the belt is basic stuff here. You want to get armor, life, resistances, and that's really the most important thing. Armor, life, resistances, and preferably a plated belt. If you're gonna get like corruption with increased armor or some more res, excuse me, or strength, intelligence, dexterity, or something like that, that's perfectly serviceable, right? That's totally fine. Boots, I didn't make a crafting guide for them, but very easy to craft again. Actually, boots were a little bit more complicated, so I'm not gonna say very easy because there's some shenanigans. I had to fracture life, then block life regeneration on a suffix, and then I could start doing armor on these boots. So, excuse me, I fractured life. I had to chaos spam armor, increased armor. Then I had to unveil the life regeneration from Abyssal Craft. Then all the life modifiers were blocked, so I could perfect exalted armor, and armor applies to Ellie. And then even I freaking messed up the order, by the way, because there is also increased effect of socketed items horror in between. But yeah, basically, boots were a little bit more complicated, but basically you're looking for something like that. You might be asking why I didn't go for just triple defense. Is because I thought that losing even more life is going to be probably not that good of an idea. And armor on boots is not going to be. This is the lowest armor piece on your entire gear, right? Body armor is obviously more, helmet is more, gloves is way more because gloves is basically doubled thanks to iron reflexes and leather bound gauntlets. So my gloves give me 2300 armor actually. So what I decided to is basically just settle for something like that, right? With life instead, and that's totally fine, right? Then Imperial Great Helm. Did I talk about the helmet already? I think I did, right? So we have rings. Rings are very simple. What you basically want here is as many resistances as possible. You want to cap your res, then T1 life, and as high evasion as you can get. I had like I didn't feel like I need any more power, so I literally just like went for rings that had some rarity on them. So you can just flame me right now, call me like a like a pesky rarity farmer, but I decided to get some. But if you don't want to get rarity, you can get physical damage to attacks instead. If you're gonna have high physical damage to attacks on both of your rings, that is actually going to be a very substantial damage amount of damage on your weapons. So, for example, it's definitely not going to hurt as much to lose the +2 melee skills from gloves, right? Like physical, keep in mind the flat damage is very powerful when you're dual wielding because flat damage is going to be added onto this weapon and onto this weapon. So arguably it's even more important if you're dual wielding one-handed maces because one-handed maces by default have less damage than two-handers. So flat damage on paper is actually strong. So if you're gonna get physical damage on both of these rings, that will be decent, very solid amount of damage. If you're gonna have very high, like tier 1 or tier 2 flat fizz on both of these rings, this is gonna be powerful. So keep that in mind, right? And then amulet, I didn't craft this, I bought this myself, but as much armor as possible, all attributes is important. And increased maximum life or flat life and +3 to all melee skills. Getting an amulet like this without like these global defenses honestly shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be like that expensive, but getting increased global defenses at the same time is going to be hard. I have to say I got really lucky with this because I bought this amulet a long time ago and it had one useless prefix, and then I slammed YOLO Essence and I got increased global defenses. So it's really good now, but it's not mandatory. Once again, I mentioned multiple times, the armor is so overkill that if you're not gonna have some of the armor on your gear, it doesn't freaking matter because you're still going to be taking 0 damage. At least on Titan, right? Because Titan has even more armor than Titan has more armor than any other class in the game, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, when it comes to charms, I decided unironically to get rid of all the damage over time. So I got rid of bleed, I got rid of ignite, and I got rid of slows. For obvious reason. Slows, the biggest enemy of warriors that are already relatively slow. So I got rid of this. Then the damage over time debuffs. Look, you can tell that someone is tanky when they don't even care if they get shocked anymore. I literally I don't even care if I see shock. I just don't, right? If I'm taking increased damage from something, I just don't care. So I just got rid of shock. I got rid of freeze because I'm going to get frozen once every 50 maps, and then wow, I can't move for 2 seconds. The monsters are going to do 0 damage in the meantime anyway. So yeah. So that's the charms I'm using, and the life flask, obviously, whatever. I don't use it very often, but you can just get yourself like, I guess the better flask is there is one flask that gives you, there's a modifier that gives you a lot of recovery rate, but at the same time it removes some of the recovered life from mana or something like that. This one is the best because obviously losing mana is not a big deal, as you can tell probably. So. And that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. This was probably like one of the longest build guides that I've made, full build guides. In the description, of course, my mobalytics if you want to see you know, the progression of this character the past almost 4 weeks now. Damn, it's been a journey. I'm really happy. You know, it's crazy that armor stacking turned out to be this strong, but you know, another proof that you shouldn't trust people before we actually get to play something. So because everyone was saying that armor is going to be completely useless, right? And look at this. So the mobalytics is going to be in the description. I'm going to link the guide to the. I'm going to give you a link to the video where I was talking about the leveling, so the first video, and the mobalytics is going to be updated with this version of this character currently. The only one thing I just realized I'm going to change is that I forgot to change the increased armor, evasion, and energy shield. I had chaos resistance runes here before, so I'm probably going to change that before I'm going to upload the build, right? But yeah, if you're gonna have any questions, feel free to fire away in the comments or join my Discord or the stream. That's going to be it when it comes to this character and armor stacking archetype. Next video probably pretty soon because I already started working on the next project, and oh boy, is all I'm going to say. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you next time. Bye bye.